So, hi and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this International Service Share and Global Grants session today. Glad to see you all here. My name is Helena Dahlin, and this is my husband, Hans Dahlin. Okay, are you ready? Okay. Are you ready? There we go. So we are coming from the Rotary Club of Goleta Noontime, and we are taking on this international service share position next year after Susan Weaver. We have been working with international service for about 10 years now, and we have done 5 successful global grants regarding preschool education in Sri Lanka. As District International Service shares, we will give you all the information you will need for working with international service. And we want to inspire you, all of you, to have the same experience that we have had doing global grants and see how you really can have an impact on other people's lives. That so-called the Rotary moment. We have an international service subpage on this district website. And we really encourage every one of you to visit this page. So to find this page, go to the district's website and then click to Avenue of Service and scroll down to International Service. And there you will find all the useful information you need. And don't hesitate to ask a lot of questions to us. We try to answer as many as possible. And so what is really international service? Here are some examples. International Convention, polio eradication, youth exchange, friendship exchange, sponsoring peace scholars, vocational training teams, international service projects. All these things qualify as international service, and Hans is now going to talk a little bit more of each of these topics. So Hans, the floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you so much, Helena. So what is more international than going to an international convention? We encourage you all to take a chance to go to an international convention to experience the joy and excitement of meeting thousands of Rotarians from all over the world. Even though the convention will be virtual again this year, it is still a great opportunity to meet other Rotarians and listen to great speakers. The date this year is set to June 12th to 16, and the registration opened up yesterday. Polio eradication. One of the roles of the Club International Service Director is to promote World Polio Day and to work with your club to organize a fundraising event for the day. Maybe you have heard of Pints for Polio, which is an example of such a fundraiser. Another large event for polio is, of course, the National Immunization Day activities, the so-called NI Days. You can go as Rotarian to different countries to help giving out polio vaccine drops. And going to an NID is often cited as being the Rotary moment that suddenly makes you to realize all the good that Rotary does in the world. If you have questions about polio, ask Jim Lewis, the District Polio Plus Chair. Youth exchange. Youth exchange programs fall within international service because it is an international youth exchange. Your club needs to know about these programs and help to promote them. However, I will not go into details with this because this program has been postponed next year due to COVID. But if you have questions about youth exchange, the person to ask for the district this year is Barry van der Kielen. He's from Rotary Club of San Luis Obispo. Friendship exchange. Friendship exchange is another international exchange program, but this one is for Rotary members and friends. The Rotarians will travel abroad and stay in other Rotarians' homes. In return, they can come visit you in your home later. This will broaden international understanding and make you to explore new cultures and build enduring friendships. And now, Susan, it's your turn. The floor is yours.
Hello. I'm speaking about sponsoring Peace Fellows, which is also a international service responsibility of clubs. And one of the ways, there are a couple of ways that you can sponsor a Peace Scholar. One is if you find a candidate to put forth yourself as your club, or the other is to endorse a candidate. In the first instance, one thing you have to make sure is that the person that you're promoting is actually eligible, that their application would be accepted. And to be accepted into the master's program, they have to have a BA from a university, and they also have to have a minimum of 3 years of professional experience in a peace-related field. Similarly, for the professional development program, they also need a BA, and they have to have a minimum of 5 years experience in peace and conflict resolution. If you have questions about this, you should contact Mike Weaver. His email address is listed on the slide as he is in charge of that particular program, Peace Fellows. All right. Another area that falls under international service is vocational training teams. And we haven't, as a district, we haven't really had a vocational training team go out in recent years. We have had
I'm turning this way. Let them sit there. Yeah, she sit by me, Jody.
All right. Mike, if you could, thank you. So at any rate, we haven't had one recently, and it may be a little while before we can field one again. But this is a fantastic opportunity for people to, because you don't have to be a Rotarian in order to participate in a vocational training team. And it's a good way to introduce people to Rotary and encourage them to become members. All right, next slide. International service projects are really what you think of when you think of international service, and they fall into these 3 categories: self-funded, district grant, and global grant. And I would note that your club can participate in a global grant with the project being conducted in the United States, as long as yours is the host club and the sponsoring club is in a foreign country. So those global grants really travel both ways. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dave Gore, who's going to talk about the grants. David?
Thank you very much, Susan, and welcome all Rotarians. It's a pleasure to be able to help present this international service presentation this afternoon. Susan has just told you that there are a number of grants that are used in order to help fund international service projects. If you're wanting to use Rotary Foundation monies to be able to do that, you'll need to make certain that your club is both qualified and certified in order to sponsor such a grant. Qualification is a process that involves attending an educational and also qualification webinar. So it's an official webinar required by the Rotary Foundation. Second step is certification, which involves filling out paperwork and submitting that to me specifically as the grants chair for District 5240. My contact information is included on the slide, and most of you have had an opportunity to submit your own club's paperwork for grant certification following the qualification step by attending the webinar. Some people ask, do we need to do this every year? The answer is yes, if you wish to write grants in the year in question. Qualification and certification must be renewed every single year that you intend to write grants. Let's go to the next slide, please. Grant purposes include, of course, humanitarian projects throughout in your own community, but I think it's important for people to understand that both district grants and global grants can be used for international purposes. About 15% of all district grants every year are written with an international project in mind. So please do keep your mind open as far as locations. Service travel is included in district grant funding. Scholarships are a favorite topic for most district grants, and youth programs are also included in funds that are asked for district grants. Let's go to the next slide, please. Financing sources for district grants particularly include your own club's contributions and your Rotarians' contributions within your own club to the Rotary Foundation's annual fund program. So in other words, it's not your Polio Plus monies, but your annual fund contributions that count towards determining how much money your club is eligible to have allocated to it for just district grants in the future. So always keep that in mind. There's an allocation schedule that's published every year. You can see the location where that allocation schedule is published on the district website. It's important to understand that the district will match club contributions, $1 for $1 up to the club's maximum allocation. And that's a great thing. You can put $2,000 into a project, and if your allocation, your club's allocation is $2,000, you can do a $4,000 project. A great way to leverage your club's resources. And finally, district grants are reimbursement grants. Reimbursement occurs usually early in the year following the year the project was completed. And so that tells us that right now, as the 2020, 2021 projects are being completed, that reimbursement for those grants will occur in early July 2021. Next slide, please. Finally, here's the timetable. Most district grants, the application process occurs before the Rotary year begins. There's a round one process that occurred this year between January 15th and March 31st. And then a round two process if there are any funds left over that were not requested according to the club's allocation in round one. Round two extends from April 1st to June 30th. Again, this is all before the Rotary year actually begins. If there are unclaimed funds left over, a club may request up to $1,000 of district DDF at that point. And finally, in the year of the project, it's completed and a final report is submitted by June 30th at the end of the Rotary year. In this case, for projects for 2021-22, those project reports will be due on June 30th, 2022. And that's when final reports will be reviewed by the District Grants Committee. Let's go on to the next slide, please. Global grants. We just heard from Susan and Hans and Helena and telling us about how global grants can be done by a host club and an international club. So two clubs in two different countries. The host club is where the project is done. The international club is supporting the project. And the humanitarian projects that encompass such global grant projects occur in 7 areas of focus, as we've already heard. They also can be used for scholarship support, graduate level academic studies, and the vocational training teams that Helena and Hans told us about. Next slide, please. The important characteristics of a global grant are that they are a bit more complicated than a district grant. And unlike a district grant that's over and done with in a single year, they are multi-year projects. Most important, global grant projects must actually meet needs that are known to exist within a community and documented to exist within a community. It's not a project looking for a need, but rather needs that generate the project. The project must be sustainable It must continue to provide benefits to the people in a community even after the project is technically finished and the report is finalized and submitted. It has to have measurable outcomes. We have to know how many people we've helped, what sort of help was provided, how did we do what we achieved and what we set out to achieve. It must, of course, have a focal area in one of the 7 areas, and it must be monitored and evaluated. And that's a very important part of global grants. Let's take a look at the next slide. Financing. I think one of the big distinctions of global grant projects is that more money is involved. There's more money involved to be able to accomplish your more lofty goals. The minimum budget is $30,000, and the contribution range for District 5240 matching funds, the DDF, is typically between $10,000 and $20,000. Though in some circumstances, it can be less than $10,000. District 5240 will match its DDF to Club Cash, $1 of DDF for $1 of Club Cash. And when I say club, that could be clubs, Rotarians, and others within District 5240. The contribution range from the Rotary Foundation's World Fund is between $10,000 and $400,000. And the World Fund for this coming year will match DDF, but they will not match cash, but they'll match DDF 80 cents on the dollar. That's new for projects in 2021-22. So here's an example of how that would work. A club or clubs in District 5240 put up $11,000. District 5240 puts up DDF of $11,000 on a dollar for dollar basis. Matching by the World Fund is 80 cents on the dollar. So 80 cents on the dollar would be $8,800. And together you line up all of those figures and you come up with, in this case, a $30,800 project budget. So those are, again, some newer rules for how the matching funds will work for global grants in 2021-22. At this point, it gives me great pleasure to welcome my fellow co-presenter and the person who really taught me everything I know about grants in the first place, past district governor, and also a member of the cadre of Rotary Foundation Technical Advisors, Wade Nomura. Wade?
Great. Thank you very much, David. Thanks for having me. Appreciate that one. I want to cover now what you have beyond the district. Now, the district does an outstanding job of supporting your global grants. What I'm giving you now is a second reference resource, and that would be with the cadres from the Rotary Foundation. Personally, I serve as the technical coordinator. I am the chair of Water and Sanitation internationally. So I am also serving on the long range planning committee for this one. So I've been able to get a lot of information beforehand from you. This is what the cadre program represents, what it does, and what we're here for. Next slide, please. It shows the number of us. We are international in membership. These are the numbers currently that we have of cadres or technical advisors for global grant projects. Next slide, please. And what we do, this is a list of some of the items that the Rotary Foundation cadres assist with. And this list is also inclusive. However, it does also include a new vision and a new focus that the Foundation cadres will be working on. And that is to serve as resources, assistance, aids, and I would say advisors for your global grant applications. In other words, if your club has not done a global grant in the past or wishes to have assistance, all they need to do is contact me, and we will actually put a team together that will assist you in writing and putting together a global grant project. So I think that's an important factor to that one. I definitely emphasize starting with the Global Grants Committee in the district, but then for assistance above and beyond that, we will be able to assist you at the international level through Foundation. Next slide, please. The Rotary Foundation cadres have been divided into another organizational model, and that is through regional organizations. Next slide, please. This geographical map of the world shows the 7 different areas that have been divided up by the Rotary Foundation. Each of those 7 areas has an organization called regional organizers that actually organize all of the cadres of all of the areas of focus, all 7 in each of these regions specific. My current position, and I think I'm going to have it for the next 2 or 3 years, is as the regional organizer for all of North America, English-speaking countries in the Caribbean, and also English-speaking countries in South America. So I have the opportunity now to work in this group of other 7 to go worldwide as far as our efforts. I put this out there only because if you're doing a global grant, it's pretty easy to work at the international level because that is within our district. However, when you reach outward and look at the host districts that you're going to be working with, oftentimes it's difficult because of geographical distance to have that assistance with you at that level. So the Rotary Foundation cadres are doing now is we are actually coordinating with the host side, also appointing cadres to assist at that end too. So we will be able to work at both ends, both the international and the host end, to making sure that everything is understood, that there is a clean understanding of the project and responsibilities of each of them themselves. I would like to also point out that there are going to be some changes coming down the foundation. These changes are going to include amending and modifying the global grant application. We'll see this sometimes early in the Rotary year, sometimes after July 1st is my belief and what we've been told. We will also see a more focused on projects of scale. In other words, the grants that we see coming down the line will become larger grants with more participation, more people, more clubs, and more districts participating in those grants. When I say projects of scale, we are looking at $500,000 on up. So that's something else to consider as you move forward with this one. You don't always have to be the primary at this point. You could also assist with some of the other larger grants that you see coming down. Monitoring and evaluation, as David pointed out, is going to be another crucial factor. You'll see a document coming out on monitoring and evaluation guidelines. This will be put out probably in the next 2 months. That one there we've been working on is actually, unfortunately, going to be about a 42-page document with guidelines for that one. I am sitting on that committee, so I did say, by the way, give us cheat sheets. So the 42 pages, the first 3 pages will give you guidelines and an understanding of the total document. Measuring and evaluation also comes with currently, and it will remain in place, 10%. So 10% of your global grant could actually put aside for monitoring and evaluation purposes, making sure those are in place. You also have 10% for administrative costs, which is also part of the guidelines of a global grant, along with contingencies, another 10% of that one. And this would include possibly something that had been missed that you could put back into the global grant, and also currency exchanges, because that has been one of the other areas that we have had a hard time doing. So the bottom line is, and Dave touched on it, the funding. We will see substantial changes coming down on the global grant application. The unfortunate part is that this will require more education at the club level and at the district level. But the fortunate part is the foundation is aware of that. And that's why we as technical coordinators or cadres actually now have been tasked and assigned to assist any club, any district within any of the Rotary world, making sure that you as a club have all the resources you need to fulfill putting an application together and doing a project. With that, I'm going to hand it back to David. Thank you, David.
And thank you very much, Wade. We had it let it be known to us a little bit earlier that international service projects using global grants as a funding mechanism don't always have to be projects that are undertaken in countries other than the United States. Some of those projects are affecting projects that are in our own backyard. And these are international projects because an international club must be a partner with us whenever we do such a project. A great example is one that was conducted in District 5240 just a few years ago, the Conejo Free Clinic in Thousand Oaks, which remains today an outstanding exemplar of provision of services to low-income people. In this case, services are medical, dental, and legal services as well. The international partner is, as you see, the Rotary Club of Tijuana. Thousand Oaks was the host club, And we had quite a number of other clubs within District 5240 participated, as well as outside our district. Grant funding included $120,000 altogether. And it's amazing how well this particular project became sustainable afterwards, with so many other partners for this project in addition to Rotary. But it was Rotary's vision that got it started and got it going. International in our own backyard. Next slide, please. Finally, if we can get the next slide up. There we are, good. Finally, we can take a look at some of the resources available for global grants. If you want to know the rules of the game, you really need to study up. And it doesn't take a lot of work to do that. And so I'd like to make sure that you understand precisely the two Bibles that I like to refer to here. The Global Grants Policy, which is the Rotary Foundation's a guide to global grants, as well as District 5240 policy. And that's the file that's yellow highlighted there called Global Grants Policy. Those two are listed particularly and prominently on the slide. If you know those two, you know the ground rules, you know what to expect. And it's a lot easier to work the system if you know what the system requires and what it involves. Also, it's nice to know how to make certain that your project gets known out there. If you want partners, if you're looking for help, it's great to be able to know that you have other resources that allow you to do that, including the district newsletter, matchinggrants.org, the Rotary Showcase, and there's nothing that's works quite so well as just making your sales pitch to other Rotary clubs nearby or throughout the district. You know, there's a great lot to be said about global grant programs and international cooperation that goes along with making a truly successful international service project work. And to tell us more about some of the glue of how that actually does work in international service, we've got intercountry committees. And Jane Howard is going to tell us all about intercountry committees. Jane, take it away.
Thank you, David. My name is Jane Howard, and I'm with the Rotary Club of Cambria. My district position, as David said, is new this year. Next year, it will be the ICC or Inter-Country Committee Chair. I have three main takeaways that I want you to know before I'm done. Number one, everybody that's just spoken is a team. We're a district international team, and we're all here to help you. Look at us like we're another tool in your toolkit. And that's what I see the Inter-Country Committee's chair, me, as being another resource in your toolkit. Number two, of course, is what is an ICC? And the slide here explains it. And you can read it. If I can sum it up, I see inter-country committees is all about forming relationships, trust, knowledge of the two partnering countries. To me, that's the beauty of Rotary Connections. It's like-minded people, Rotarians around the world, partnering with like-minded Rotarians around the world to get an international project done. It builds trust. So it's really individuals to individuals on international projects that get it going. That turns into Rotary clubs to Rotary Club, district to district, and ultimately two countries partnering for an international project. My third takeaway is I really want you to get to know me. It's a new position. Email me, I will come speak to your clubs. We do have ICCs in our district that we started, and Hans and Helena, if you can do the next slide. So actually, these are the slides that the United States has already formed in the world. And the next slide. And this is what District 5240 started. So we're currently involved in these, but they do need to be updated and revitalized. I see that as my job. And then the next slide here. Yes, so this is important. New this year at the Rotary International Convention will be a pre-convention conference. So if everybody could save the date, I know certainly I plan on being there. The conference is June 12th through 16, our international virtual conference. And the pre-conventions all happen on June 11th. And the ICC pre-convention will be happening on June 11th. Really, to summarize, it's how can it help you with projects? It's all about building relationships. I'm here to try to be another tool in your toolkit to learn about a country that you might be wanting to have a project done, and also get to know me. Email me, I'll come speak to your clubs. I'd like to get this better well known in the district. And that's all for me. So we have questions, Dave, or? Oh. I think we open it up for questions now. Is that right, everybody?
Yes.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, we had already some question in here. So Virginia, if you want to unmute yourself and ask the question.
So when do we know if our DDF grants have been approved? That's one question.
Sure, Virginia, thank you. This is Dave Gore, and I'd like to respond to that.
Thanks, Dave.
Virginia, so good to see you. And thank you for your question. I've responded more generally in the chat room, but let's talk personally here too. So quite a number of grant applications are made right close to the deadline. So I've been in touch with District Grant Chair Pat Abruzzese, and he assures me that his committee is working through the backlog of all of those that came in there, and should be able to send out all of the district grant application status reports. In other words, the status of your grant application here during the next couple of weeks. So the last half of April. I'm getting that question rather a lot, and I thank you very much for allowing me to respond publicly here in this forum. Hope that helps.
And Virginia, do you want to address the question about NID?
The other question I had, it was brought up about the NID, the National Immunization Day. And I had a question. There are lots of days that seem to show up, like, for example, National Immunization Day and other special days that Rotary has. And how am I going to know what all those days are so that I can put those on an annual calendar and am not planning at the last minute for that kind of thing?
Okay, I think James Lewis.
Jim Lewis?
Jim Lewis, do you have something you can attend to this question?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dates?
Hi, Virginia. Been a while since we were in Kanpur in 05. I'm in communication with Anil Garg as far as India goes. And right now they haven't scheduled it. They're hoping that they'll have one in February of this coming year, like we've had before. I'll keep you posted, and I'll be sending out information to all of the assistant governors and to our polio team and to the international chairs on what's happening with polio, including with our NIDs. In regard to Africa, we might have to rely on Bruce on that, but I'll keep you posted. Right now, Anil is planning to take a team, and we'll have more information, of course, due to COVID and so forth. I'll keep you posted on it. Thank you, Hans.
Thank you, Jim. And Rob, you have a question? So you need to unmute yourself. You are muted. Okay.
Sorry, just trying to elevate my hand. I heard it doing a Rotary project, so. Couple of broken fingers, what can I say?
I hope it's not too bad.
Me too. Thank you.
Take care. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Dana, I'd like to answer, generally speaking, to a question that Jay Berger had asked earlier on, because not everybody may have seen the chat room discussion of it. Jay, did you want to ask your question here, or did you want me to just repeat it here for you?
Yeah, I asked that our president-elect had to resign, and I forget the reason why. And he and I attended the meeting where you qualified your club. And I was concerned if we lost our qualification because we don't have a president-elect currently.
Yeah, and that happens, of course. This is not the first time that's happened. The good thing about it is that qualification is a process that inures to the club itself. So once the club becomes qualified for a particular year, then the club remains qualified for that year. And as long as the club then becomes certified, as we explained earlier, by turning in the MOU, the signed MOU, then the club then becomes certified as well. The resignation subsequently of a member of the club, like a club president-elect, does not affect the club's status as a qualified or certified club. It's always a good idea to have as many people from the club, however, attend those webinars, just to hedge your bets. It's because resignation can and do occur. Thank you, Jay, for asking the question.
There's one. Assuming the president-elect resigns after the Rotary year starts, can you retroactively go back and have somebody else take the seminar and qualify?
That's actually, John, that's a good question. We do keep recorded copies of the qualification webinars available. And especially for educational purposes, then it would be a good idea to request a copy from either from me or from the District Rotary Foundation chair of that webinar, so as to be able to receive that education after the fact. There's no requirement from the standpoint of is the club qualified or certified, but for educational purposes, there's value in that. Thank you for asking, John.
Thank you. So I think that we had another question regarding the sister district project. All the presidents, the community service club chairs and international club chairs received an email from our district governor, Deb Linden, back in the beginning of March, talking about doing a joint project with our sister districts. So we have 2 sister districts in Korea and 1 in Mexico. And every year we are putting together the 4 districts, 5,000 DDF, in order to do a joint project. So this coming year, so starting with July 1st, it's our turn. So our district can have a project. So the global grant is going to happen in our district, as Dave was explaining, with that other global grant that happened a few years ago for the free clinic. So with 5,000 DDF from each district, we are going to have 20,000 DDF. And this is going to be matched 80%, unfortunately, because the things are changing. And I hope that everybody knows by now that starting with July 1st, the matching from TRF is going to be only 80% for DDF. And we are requiring the clubs in our district that are proposing a project to put 5,000 cash. So like this, if you add up all the numbers, you are going to end up with $41,000. So this is the starting of the project. So if you put as a club together with other clubs from the district, 5,000, you are going to have 41,000 to start the project. Of course, the project can go higher if you raise more money. And you got an email, again, presidents, international chairs, and community service chairs, and we are asking you to propose projects. So for now, just think about a good project for the local community. My advice is to try to really join with other clubs, to connect with them in your area and try to come with a project that is going to have a big impact. Because as Wade was saying, Rotary International is looking for projects with higher impact. And the deadline to send the email with the proposed project is the end of April, so April 30th. And again, this 3 people in your club receive the email with the instructions. So more questions about this?
Dana, can I put in a plug for Rotary Action Groups, which weren't mentioned here, as a source of international support?
Yes, go ahead.
There are 27 Rotary Action Groups in the world. Each of them is full of experts in particular areas. all of them relate to one of the 7 areas of focus. I happen to chair the Action Group on Community Economic Development. We can help you with finding a partner. We can help you with finding funds. We can help you with policies and procedures. They can assist you with engineering support, finding resources outside of the district to help you with your global grants or with your Rotary projects, work with you on programs of scale. We supported 3 different programs, $2 million grant applications last year. If you go to the Rotary International website and look under Rotary Action Groups, you'll see all 27 of them. As I said, I chair Community Economic Development. There's one on water, sanitation, and hygiene. There are some that are very specific. There's one on endangered species. As Dana has already mentioned, she's a member of the Rotary Action Group for Peace. It's also a great way to meet other people who share your interests. So it's both a resource to you and you could be a resource to them. So feel free to call on me if you need access to any of the action groups. Take a look at the Rotary International website. Thanks, Dana.
Thank you. Kay.
Dana, on this project for the local community, is there information about that on the website, the district website, as far as what should be included in an application on that?
It's not really an application, so we are just asking for ideas. It's supposed to be sent by an email. And again, who got the information, I can send you the email. So now I know that Virginia is interested and UK, I can forward you the email. But your club president, international chair, and community chairs got the email requesting applications. But it's something very simple. Just put an idea in an email with some sort of a budget, and this is just a start.
Okay.
So in the past, it was like decided, okay, so let's do this. So my idea is that I want to speak with each and every club in the district to give them the opportunity. And I think that is, if you want like a competition, okay, so I want to see that clubs are really thinking about their local community and they are coming with proposals.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I think that the key is to really try to work together with as many clubs as possible. Anybody else? Questions? No more questions?
We may be done early. No, Diana has something.
So I was just gonna, so if it's just an idea, how far along in the process within the club does it need to be? Like, does it have to already gone through and been approved with the club, or can it be at the idea phase in the club as well?
So my hope is that you discuss this with your club.
Oh, no, I just meant our club is very formal. And so it has to have gone through and been approved as an international project with our foundation and everything at that point.
Okay, so you need to move fast because actually there are only 2 more weeks. But again, like you have 3 people that I just mentioned in your club, they've known about this since beginning of March. And if you didn't hear about it, I think that you are not communicating very well. Unfortunately, you are not alone.
Sounds like next year.
Okay, anybody else? So Rob, you are still confusing me with your hand up. I understand. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have one quick question, Dana. You mentioned that travel would be included within this grant. Does that mean that if we did a grant in another country that we could travel there to help participate in the program?
So I think that Dave, you want to answer that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I did say that travel was included in as a potential purpose in district grants, and that is always possible. You certainly can include a portion for travel budget in district grants. Absolutely. I'm not sure exactly how detailed your question was, John, but it's always been an allowed purpose.
And also in our district foundation, we have some grant designated for travel. So you can apply for traveling over there. So
Okay.
are you familiar with this? So the District Charitable Foundation and the fact that we have grants over there. So we have a grant for public image and we have a grant for travel for projects. Yes, Rob.
I think there was some confusion there. The project with our sister districts, she said at the very end of her comment there, she said maybe next year. I think it needs to be clarified. Isn't that sister district arrangement, that only happens every 4 years, correct?
Yes.
Not next year.
Yes, so actually like our turn, it's every 4 years. So now our year 21, 22, but after that you need to wait for another 4 years.
Thank you.
Any other question? If not, I think that we are 2 minutes early.
Dana,
Yes.
can I say something? This is Susan Weaver. I just want to encourage you all to visit the site page on the district website and familiarize yourself with it, because there we have assembled all sorts of resources for you, answers to questions, projects that you can get involved in, places to post your own projects. And I encourage you, if your club has done a successful project, please, by all means, submit it as a case study, because we would really like that to be another rich source of information for people. Thanks.
Thank you, Susan. So this is very good because I really want to make the website more functional and to have more useful information over there. And Susan has been doing a very good job this year maintaining up-to-date information, and I hope that Helena and Hans are going to continue with that. And also we have a committee at the district level for international service, and Susan has been doing again like a wonderful job this year, having meetings every month and people coming together. I am participating in several of them, and they are very well organized and on top of stuff. No wasted time over there, and you can hear about projects, you can talk about what your club is interested in doing, you can ask for advice. So I highly recommend that you join those meetings that are going to continue, I hope, Hans and Helena. And anyhow, I know that Susan is going to stay on that committee. Yes, Susan? Okay, so, and yes, website, it's very important resource. When you need something, I hope that you can find it over there, but we need your help in order to maintain it and to come with new information. Any more questions or comments? If not, thank you very much, and I'll stop the recording.